petition, which we considered along with this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I call Greg O'Connor.
Madam Speaker, it gives me pleasure to rise on the Criminal Records Expungement of Conviction for Historical Homosexual Offences Bill. One of my colleagues across the House described me as a dinosaur some minutes ago in relation to my time in police. It did cause me to reflect that I did spend some time as a police officer in New Zealand Police, and I was indeed in police at a time when police were actively policing these acts. Section 41, indecency between males, Section 142, sodomy, 146, keeping place of resort for homosexual acts, Section 153, unnatural offence, Section 154, attempt to commit unnatural offences. And as I sat on the Select Committee and considered the submitters, considered the bill, it did cause me to give thought to just what it was like in those days, I suppose in the 60s, 70s, 80s even, for those who were brought into the criminal justice system, because it wasn't just a conviction, it was everything that went with that. A lot of the latter years, a lot of the policing of the Act was around, and particularly in Wellington, around Marion Street, where a lot of transsexual men, a lot of homosexual men would nightly be brought into the Wellington Central Police Station and charged with associated offences. So as I considered that, I looked at the different parts of the bill. I couldn't help but having context for what it was we were actually doing and achieving with this bill. And that complemented by the submitters who brought their own stories, their own experiences to the Select Committee. It really did give me a sense that this is a very right thing to be doing. Saying that, I think we should remember that we are in another time now, and we shouldn't be too hard on those who were responsible for the legislation or the enforcement of same in that period, because, quite frankly, that was another time. But we are now in a time when we, I think, take a much broader view of the effect of some relatively narrow views placed into criminal justice system can have on the lives of people, particularly those who are part of this. And I look at what the bill was attempting to actually achieve and at its outset. And one of the main parts of that, of course, was that it was essentially to achieve that reduce prejudice, stigma and other negative effects. And I go to clause 3, the purpose of the Act, to reduce prejudice, stigma and other negative effects arising from a conviction for a historical homosexual offence. And doing that, allowing on application by the convicted person or a representative on their behalf, if they are deceased, to expunge a historical heterosexual offence if it meets the test for expungement. And I think that I refer to that part of the Act where the classes of people who are able to apply on behalf of a deceased person, they are the executor, the administrator, or the trustee of their estate, or their spouse, civil union partner, de facto partner, parent, sibling or child. The deposition of representative also includes anyone who has requested to be a representative and the Secretary has granted that request. There was some discussion at Select Committee as to the extent that it should be applied to those who had passed on, but certainly the agreement was that the pain was often so great for those individuals that it did actually carry on well beyond the grave and, in fact, to family representatives. Madam Speaker, I commend this bill, and I would thank you, ma'am.
I call Ginny Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.